this thing picking up volume? Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, so we're going to be putting together a suite of tests to test out our Prism changes for the navigation service. So we've added some changes to the navigation service. My camera looks like it's gonna fall. I think it's okay. Made some changes to the Prism navigation service to handle deep links a little better. So we're working on getting some automated tests written for that. We started in yesterday and built some actual UI to test what we wanted to do. So this is what we did yesterday. Is this yesterday? Yeah, this is May 1st. So we intended to build some pages for tab navigation scenario in the test project, which we got that done. Then we examined the existing UI test and started building some new tests. All right, I'm hearing from Sarah that she cannot hear on Twitter. Let's see. Looks like it's picking me up. But I don't really know. Can you hear me, Sarah? Hopefully you can hear me now. There should be at least background music, so you should at the very least hear background. Thanks for verifying you can hear. EOWin27, thank you for that. It's helpful. Okay, so hopefully it's okay through the Twitter feed. I've got it recasting through Restream. Built some UI. We looked at the existing UI test, just seeing what they're doing. And we started kind of examining building new UI tests. So yeah, we looked at Prism Modules. That was part of the existing test project, the Hello World project. So Prism Modules allows you to encapsulate code into a separate project and then kind of reuse that throughout your Xamarin.Forms project, which is really cool. So if you've got a piece of functionality that you want to drop into, a set of apps, if you've got a suite of apps, or maybe you just want to have login dealt with the same way every time, for example, you can put that in a module, like a login module, and use that anywhere. We added some new dependencies into the Hello World solution. We explored the existing UI tests and they ran successfully, which is great. We created test navigation buttons in the Hello World project. We'll look at that first. And then we found some issues with the navigation flow in the navigation service, so we'll deal with that. I meant to get my ZSH theme to Glenn, who was watching yesterday. Didn't get around to that. I'll do that later. So yeah, next stream. So that's today. We want to diagnose the issues with page navigation service. So that's part of Prism that allows us to navigate throughout our app that we identified with our button navigation in the Hello World project. Cool. All right. So that's what we're going to do. So let's start some notes first. So stream notes, and it is May 2nd. Cool. So on our agenda, first item, we're going to fix issues identified in page navigation service. Then we're going to write some UI tests. Cool. That's pretty much it. We'll see how far we get. I think we'll have some pretty good luck today, just based on where we left off yesterday. Ended yesterday strong. Before I get to that, before we start coding, I just want to draw attention to something. So I'm wearing my Xamarin Saturday shirt. We hosted an event, user group, last year, It was a full Saturday event. If you look at our YouTube page, there is a playlist for Xamarin Saturday. We were supposed to have our second Xamarin Saturday today, so to kind of commemorate that, I'm going to draw some attention to the previous event, which was extremely good. So if you look at this playlist, it's going to start playing. It's not what I wanted. No, how do I just look at the videos? Okay, here we go. So it's got a whole pile of content in it. It's all still like pretty fresh from August, so it's all very relevant. There's a Comet presentation. Comet is an MVU framework built by James Clancy, part of the Xamarin team. MVU is like what Flutter uses. So it's a very cool kind of responsive way to build your apps, hot reload everything, your C# code. We've got some cross-platform library stuff, some shell, some more Xamarin.Forms features, some cross-platform video player content, some Azure stuff, some reactive stuff, reactive UI, and reactive extensions. So really good content. Please check it out. And subscribe to our channel too while you're there. Okay, now let's get down to work. So the first thing I'm going to do, we'll load up our Hello World project, and we're going to take a look at this. I really want to get to the heart of what went wrong last time. So I'll show everybody kind of where we're at and where things are failing, and then we'll get into our service where it's actually breaking down. I'm going to have a sip of coffee. No beer on the stream today, just coffee. Need to be productive after the feed. So if you have any questions today throughout, don't hesitate to ask in the chat. Always happy to field questions as we move through this. Okay, so let's launch this. This is where we are actually seeing things break down. So we had built I'm going to close a whole bunch of stuff. So we have a test page here. Pin this and pin this and close. Yeah, we'll close to the right. So we have a page and a view model. So we have a page here. My simulator is loading on the other monitor. Let's bring that over. Okay. So we have a page. That's this view A here. This view A has just a bunch of buttons to test navigation to other parts of the app. So what we did a bit of a tune-up on this and removed some hard-coded bits. That was the first thing we did. And then we started building in some of our new stuff after we had retrofitted and kind of cleaned up what was there. So on our view A, this is interesting. I select Visual Studio and the focus goes back to the sim. That's very interesting. Okay, let's close the sim. All right. So some fun, peculiar behavior. I want to just draw attention to the two buttons that we put in place last time. And really, we can get rid of one of these. So we have two buttons. So we created this button. This button is using the markup extension. So this is all using the XAML approach. So we can hot reload it and all that great stuff. We found it kind of inadequate because the navigate to the Prism markup extension doesn't really handle this complex URI really well. And as you can see, we're delimiting our select tab path with a pipe. I don't know if this is not handling it well, or well, it might be the markup extension in combination with the navigation service. We know the navigation service doesn't work. We know the markup extension doesn't work, but I didn't really dig into that. And that's kind of not what I want to focus on today anyways. I want to focus on just the raw navigation. So I'm just going to get rid of, no, I'm not going to get rid of this. I'm just going to mark this as being XAML. So this is all defined with markup, where this one is binding to a command, which is part of our view model. I will put in that we're going to item 2 though. So this is going to take us to our items list page, item list page. So it's going to select the item list tab. Actually, let's put in that full path here. That is helpful. So that's first thing. Let's check how this works just without making any other changes. This might just work, but it might not work too. Where I was seeing it fail last time is one of the flows in the navigation service, or one of the things the navigation service does, is it checks where you're coming from. So if you're coming from a content page or a master detail page or a tab page, it will handle your navigation command slightly different. Why is this complaining? Oh, we're back to XAML C errors. How did I get rid of this yesterday? XAML compilation, that's what XAML C is. We had some weird issues yesterday. I had some weird issues yesterday. I ended up just commenting out some XAML C, XAML compilation attributes in the app, but I don't think that was fully what was going on. Let's, I'm just going to delete my output folders. So that's good. Restore NuGet packages. Okay, and let's try building this again. Just try running it. Get us a fresh build. Hopefully we can avoid, yeah, what is going on here? It's caching something pretty aggressively. That's what I found last time. So let's do this. I am going to clean, do all the things. Clean the solution, delete the output folders. Then let's put Visual Studio. I don't know what's going on. This looks like some kind of bug with Visual Studio. I don't want to update though, because I have a project that I know has some issues with the latest version. Maybe not Visual Studio itself, but the Xamarin iOS and Android components. I know it can be updated separately, but I'm still always like just a little bit gun shy when it comes to upgrading my tooling. Okay, let's see if we can get this running. I assume this is just going to work this time. This is what happened yesterday too. Glad I kind of remember. And I can work through it again while it's fresh. Come on, you can do it. Let's take a quick look at our notes again. I think this is our, yeah, May 1st notes here. Okay. So I'm going to make a note of this right now. So if Visual Studio for Mac, oops. My machine does not like all the stress I'm putting on it. Oh, that simulator is aggressive with stealing focus. Will not build run due to XAML C issues. Clean, delete output, quit, restart, yes. There, that'll help me remember it if I run into it again. Okay, so now we've got a running app, great. We've got our item detail to XAML and our item detail to. So what we're trying to do here is select the items tab, which has just a list on it, and then navigate to the second item. A breakpoint here. So then we get our second item on screen. So we want to do that with, really this is to support deep links. So we want to be able to get to any page, any navigation configuration on the app through one click. And that didn't really, the scenario that existed before is our navigation service would launch this second page, this item detail page, and containing that second item, the ID2 item, it would launch it in a modal. It had the ability to do that if you used a slash here. But using this pipe and this pipe delimiter changes the behavior. And now this is kind of an extension of the tab selection, whereas a slash would kind of denote that you're starting a new navigation stack, so you wanted a modal. So this is brand new functionality because we want to push another page onto the stack of items list page, under the navigation page that houses that, rather than start a new modal window. Okay, so we're in pretty decent shape. I am just going to ask somebody, I'm concerned about the Twitter feed. I'm going to ask a friend to check that just to see if it has audio. Hopefully I hear back. Actually, I asked two friends. Okay. So here's a moment of truth. So if I tap this items item detail 2, let's actually watch this happen. So let's put a breakpoint where we actually do our navigation. So this navigate command here that we're binding to is part of our view model here. And it's going to fire our navigate method. So down here we have our navigate method. And it's just basically calling navigate async and passing in the URL that we define as a parameter. So a parameter here, our command parameter, is going to get passed in there. So let's see how that works. So let's try it, see what happens. So we have our URL here. Here it comes in, my tab page, select tab, item list page, pipe, item detail page with a query parameter or a navigation parameter ID of 2. Let's just let this run and see what happens. Nothing, absolutely nothing. So that probably means we hit this console right line here. There must have been an exception that came back from the navigation service in that result. So let's look at our output. What? Nothing. That's not right. So, okay. Let's see if we get success back from this. I feel like something's throwing an exception. It's not properly handled somewhere, potentially. Okay, so there's our URL again. Success. Even worse. So it's giving us success true, but it's not taking us anywhere. It's not doing anything. Okay, so we got a couple issues to address. So let's step into this time. So we'll actually step into the navigate async method and see what's going on here. Cool. Now I don't have my key mapping set up very well, so I am going to be using the mouse to navigate my step over and step into. Okay, so this is looking for a relative page path, which we are not using. Navigate internal. I think I saw what was going on with this, so this is stepping in the URI parse, which I didn't really want to do, but that's fine. Quick enough to get out of there. Instead of doing this, let's look at, let's get down here. Let this play out. Okay, so now we're seeing, so it's an absolute URI, and we're going to process navigation for that. So that calls our process navigation with a set of parameters. We're going to get a URI segment. Okay, so here's where the tricky part is. Here's where we ended up last time. So because the current page is a content page, it's following this branch of logic, I think. Let's get down to this if statement. Actually, let's get to here first, and we'll take a look at the current page. Validate our assumptions so we don't skip over all this. We know it's not remove segments, so it's not going to hit that return. And we know it does have segments, so okay, cool. Content page or current page. What? Current page is null. Okay, well, I'm glad I checked that. All right, let's step into this. Okay, so we're creating a page from a segment. So it's treating the whole URI as a segment. Okay, that might be part of the problem. Segment name doesn't even get used. Isn't that interesting? Okay, fine. Get segment name. Oh, it does get used. Oh, the null value does get used. So our segment name is my tab page. So this should be loading our my tabbed page. Maybe this is the whole issue. Let's see. So we're going to try and create a page here. See what happens. Okay, so we have a tab page. Nobody's answering my messages here. Okay. Ask my wife. Okay, so we've got the page name. It actually creates the page. So we're in good shape there. So it's not null, this won't fire. Okay, let's just run this out. This is interesting. So now we're configuring pages. This is of interest. Let's check this out. I don't think I've ever seen this method before. So if page is tab page. Now this should be a tab page, so let's see if we hit that method. So yeah, the branch logic executes, configure tab page. Cool. Okay, so it's looking at the children here. And it's just setting them up. So this is just setting up all the children here. Now, tabs to create is similar to what we're doing, so this uses a similar pipe syntax to create the tabs if you're using a create tab syntax. So the same way we can do select tab here, you can also do create tab to have Prism create your tabs dynamically on the fly, which is great. It's not really what we're looking at yet. We'll get there. Okay. Cool. All right. So let's. Apparently the Twitter feed is good now, so that's good. Ah, this is interesting. This is very interesting. So it's telling me here that this push async is not being awaited. Which, why? Okay, I'm gonna make a change right here first. because this can result in race conditions and swallowed exceptions. So I want to make sure that this is awaited. But I'm going to add a comment here. So I didn't write this code, so I don't fully understand it, but I know that you don't really want a race condition or a fire and forget on a push async. Hey Dan, it's going well. Just found a unawaited push async call that makes me a little nervous, so I'm awaiting it, and I added a comment here to say what's going on. Things are kind of behaving funny, so I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. So what I'm going to do, because I changed this, I want to let this run again. So this is going through the children and setting up all the page behaviors. So we don't want to do much else in here. It's not really, it's tab page select tab where our magic is. Dan has thrown Brian under the bus again. Good times. I don't think, like, there's a lot of this code that was not async task. It was just returning. There's a lot of static voids before. Until I had to go through and change a lot of the stack to make sure it was properly awaited. Because the unit tests revealed a few different race conditions. So it's good to find those early. Oh no, this is going to be a nightmare, isn't it? Yeah, I've got all my breakpoints in here. Only that last one I added is the one we care about here. So the rest I can just ignore. Cool. Okay, let's hit this again. Okay, so we're navigating, and now we're jumping right into the where it matters here. So we've got, let's see here. Dan, you might know this. So I had an action item a few streams ago where I wanted to make sure that my F10, F11 keys were not doing stupid expose or whatever they call it these days. The thing where all my stuff goes away. So I can actually use F10 and F11 to step into, step over. F10's fine. Step over, no problem. Step into, I gotta use UI. What happened there? Selected tab is, it's not even finding selected tab. All right, figured I'd check. I gotta look into that. Okay, so that get value implementation is not really behaving the way we want, but this is just part of dictionary. So our parameters are not being parsed correctly. That's what it comes down to. Oh, interesting. You know what it is? It's me not being very smart. Because it's not select tab. It's selected tab, isn't it? I think I probably had my, yeah, we're going to tab pages. Yeah, it's selected tab. That's why nothing works. Isn't that delightful? Cool. Okay, well. Select tabed, selected tab, selected tab. Let's try this again. Wow. No beer today, Dan. Just coffee. All right, gonna let that one run. And I'm gonna let it run the second time here too. So now we have selected tab, you know, the correct query parameter. And look at that, it just works. So the problem all along was I had the wrong query parameter. Yeah. I think maybe it was a problem coding with beer last time. Yikes. Okay. It was at the very end of the stream, so that was like the last thing I touched. Okay, so what I want to do here is actually check the XAML markup extension to make sure it works as well. Well, look at that. It works. Cool. Good stuff. So we're in good shape there. So let's go to our stream notes. So how if I'm trying to come up with a consistent format for taking my notes, but I am terrible at it. So what did we do? So first thing we did is fixed but not really. VS XAML C headache. And then we we debugged page navigation service. Found a unawaited async call. Found it fixed. Cool. And then also we fixed a typo. Why am I saying R? It's like me trying to blame everybody else on the stream. It's your fault. Glenn's not even here today. I can't even blame him. Well, I'll ping him on Twitter and blame him later. So fixed typo in my navigation URL. That's basically what we've accomplished so far. Okay, so now let's flip over to actually writing tests against this thing, which is going to be much more productive, I would think. Okay, so let's kill all this. Great, good stuff. Don't really need to do this. I do need to change my automation ID here to make them unique. So these automation IDs are great for two different things. One, accessibility. Gives somebody who's using a screen reader the ability to, identify buttons by the automation IDs. It also gives the machine, when we're running Ui tests, the ability to pick up a specific control, which is awesome. Okay, so let's look at that now. So I think last time, let's see here. So we want to get down to our tests. So our tests here. So we've got these page object models. So the first thing we need is a page object model for our, actually, you know what? We don't even need to test the new pages we wrote. That's not really what we're testing for. Well, okay, I should take that back. We do need to test for the item detail page to make sure that we have the right page up and that we have the right item loaded. So we do need the page object model for that because we need an automation ID on that page. And then a page object model that verifies that we have the right page up. And then we also need an automation ID on, I don't know, something like our title or a label that contains the name of the item that we're trying to load. Cool. So let's take a look at that. So let's see what style it's done in. For page for view A. So we're going to have to modify view A. So that'll be the first thing that we really want to do here. Title label, navigate to view button. Yeah, so right now this is really only doing one thing. It's one query. Okay, so we're going to put two different buttons in here. And I didn't close this because I'm just going to call these buttons the same thing as what we call them in the automation ID. Navigate to item 2 XAML button and navigate to item 2 button. So these are part of our test suite. This is modeling our page so we can easily work with it instead of having to, you know, expose these pieces which aren't really part of our test. This is more part of our API when we're working with our app from a UI test point of view. So we're kind of separating that logic. That's why these page object models are good. Very good, very handy. It makes the actual important part, the test, much easier to read. And I was saying last time on the stream, it's unfortunate, but I normally can't get a client to commit to funding, building tests, building some automated tests. So it's actually, my experience with this is not very deep. It's relatively shallow. So it's actually a nice, refreshing thing to be able to work with these tests. It's great. I'm thankful that I have something instructive to test. Okay, so we're just basically changing this method, the navigate to item 2 XAML to wait for our element. We're gonna take a screenshot. Item, so we're gonna say item list, item detail, ID 2 button. So that labels our screenshot nicely. It's interesting though. Screenshot is before the tap. We'll see how that actually looks. Okay, let's see here. So we've got that one done. So we're just going to copy another one. Just use item 2. Item 2. I should probably put a XAML comment in there to differentiate these two, because these are both doing the same thing, but one's using the XAML markup extension, one is using a command. So yeah, they're doing the same thing, but they're using two different mechanisms, so we definitely want to test both of those. Okay, so we're good there. So now let's look at our test. So our test here. So we have 3 tests. We have Repple. So if you're not familiar with Repple, that's the, oh shit, what does that acronym stand for? Let's look it up together. Repple, something loop. Read, evaluate, print, loop. So that's the basically the raw interface that we can use to inspect our UI, and use it to kind of, it's almost like a it's your mobile equivalent to your markup inspector, I guess, for HTML. So in like Chrome developer tools. It's not that sophisticated though. It's like a little more crude. but you know, it gets the job done. Gets the job done. Okay, so we're gonna write another test. So we'll write 2 tests. We'll write one first, and then we'll write the other one. Just because if there's any changes, I don't have to replicate it. So navigate to view. It's not navigate to view. Navigate to item list, item detail ID 2. Cool. Cool. So we'll just call this one. So then what this new view be, when we call this, what's happening in the constructor is it's actually looking for the item that that is the primary identifier. So that this trait identifies this page as being view B. So it's just looking for title label. That's not ideal, but whatever, we can work with that. So I'm going to go the cheap, or the dirty route here. Item detail. So this is going to be our item detail page. Now our trait on that actual page, we don't have one. So let's go take care of that first. We want to make sure we have an easily identifiable trait, and then we'll verify that in Repple, and then we'll write the test. Okay, so item detail page. So let's see, I think we can just put an automation ID on the page itself. Call this item detail page. Cool. Now the other thing we want to put an automation ID on is this label. Automation, actually, let's do a couple things here. Let's it's got this content page that's displaying text and description, but there's no reason why we shouldn't just plop the ID on there as well. So let's do that. So ID, we'll do that actually at the very top, ID, item.id, I think it's ID in our model, I think. Let's double check our model. I don't want to have to adjust this later, rather be correct. Yeah, ID, cool, good. So item ID, we'll put an automation ID on here. So that allows us to easily look this up. Item ID. And this is how it reloads for us. So yeah, cool. We know we've got it. We know we've got it right. I love that how it reloaded. It's so great. Okay, so we're in good shape here. So we've got the ID. It's easy to pick out. So now let's run a REPL. So I'm going to stop the app. Go into our tests. They haven't been built yet, so nothing's showing up here. So if you're ever in the place where, you know, in your unit test pane in Visual Studio here, you're not seeing anything, just go build your test project, and then you'll see your tests. Oh, that's good coffee. Oh, I have to sit down soon. A bit of a sore back. Slept funny. Okay, so now we have tests built, so they'll show up here. So we're going to go under, I want to use the iOS sim. I don't want to muck around with Android yet. And then we're just going to run Repple. And what this will do is it'll, if you've never seen Repple before, it'll launch like a command line app that gives us, like I said, a pretty crude command line style interface into our app where we can query different UI elements. I'll load up quickly here. So it's launching the app. It's launching the hooks into the app. So it has there's a companion app, I guess you could call it, that actually hooks into our app on the device, on the simulator. That's a pretty terrible explanation, but I don't really know the nitty-gritty details to that. I should learn that. This is all using Calabash. I can't remember how to pronounce that even. The Xamarin Ui Test suite uses. Let's see. Let's check what that's called. I always feel like a bit of a dope for not knowing that. Calabash. Mobile app testing. Calabash. That's the one. So here we go. Here's our REPL. So Xamarin Ui Test builds on Calabash. I gotta commit that to memory somehow. Okay, so this is our command line interface. And our app is running in the sim. So we can interact with it using the REPL or using our sim itself. So for us, what we want to do right now, and what you can do in this REPL is you can run the same queries that you have in here. So this query here, we can also use in our REPL. So what we will do here is, I think we're going to call this, or I think we've called this page, yeah, item detail page. So we can grab that. And there it is, item detail page. And you know what? We can abstract this. Local for all occurrences, P. We'll call this page ID query. Cool. Page ID query, and then we can use that down below. The thing I'll do is move this to its own type, its own file. Clean that up. So here's our item detail page. So it's simple. The only thing that this is going to do is when we new this up, it checks our trait to make sure that this comes back with an item. So it basically looks for an item marked item detail page. So it's looking for that automation ID, and it comes back with something. If it comes back with nothing, then couldn't find it, we're not on the right page. All right, so John says, love the REPL, essential tool for writing UI tests. Absolutely. Read, evaluate, print loop. Dan says, wait, John, you actually write UI tests? Why haven't I gotten PRs from you helping to build this suite out? Dan, you're like a predator. Just waiting, lurking. You know how to write tests? Here. I got some tests for you to write. Now this is good. I like this. Phone rang. The phone always takes precedence over my headset here. Yeah, I'm really happy to be able to actually put some time into UI testing. This is awesome. Okay, so let's go to our REPL again. So we're just going to actually run that query. That was originally what I came in here to do. Let's grab this query. Actually, this drives me a little crazy too. Whoops. We're going to set up a using for this. Let's see, using. Let's see, what do we want to call this? This is really just a query. Query equals this whole mouthful here. And then we can use that shorthand here. Much better. Much more legible. Okay, so we want to use this query in our REPL to make sure we're on the right page. So here, if we execute that here, app dot, let's use Flash. So if we do that here, so no results, so nothing flashed. Flash is really great for identifying items in your query. What we can do though, what we should be looking for is our automation IDs that we defined in page A. So we can start with that. So we'll start with our XAML button. Sure, let's try it out. Just our query, make sure we have this open and visible. Cool, so flashes our button, gives us a result back, we know it can find that. Now let's try it without XAML. Sweet, so it can find both our buttons, which is great. All right, so now let's make sure it can identify our page. So now we're on items page, or on items list. Let's go into an item. And let's just rerun that item detail page. Cool, flashes the whole page, we're in business. Good, so we know we've got this running. So we know our page models are going to do what we want. So this should work no problem. Let's run these tests. So I'm going to stop my REPL. Cool. So we're done there. So now let's hop back over to our tests. And you know what? I'm feeling confident. Let's copy paste this for our, let's copy paste this for our XAML as well. XAML. I should have copy pasted it after I made that change. Dan says, I always hear people say they contribute, but they're not sure where to start. Doing some unit tests or UI tests, great way to contribute. Yeah, absolutely. John says, you've seen what happened when I tried fixing that sample. Here I have much to learn to understand Prism structure. Sounds like Dan and John are going to have a Skype session. Awesome. That is great. I'd be happy to help you out too, John, if you ever want to get a closer look at some of the poor practices I've used through the years. Some of which Dan has painfully called me out on the stream, like yesterday. Dan, I went back into the app I'm currently working on and changed that too for the that tab navigation stuff I had. Switch it all to on appearing. Yep, works well. Who would have thought? Okay, so yeah, I just want to run my test now. Where is my, see, like, why is it over here now? Why would that just all of a sudden move to the other side of the UI? I didn't move it there. Good times. Okay, so we've got to build our test solution first, our test project. So let's do that. So then it'll pick up our tests in the Test Explorer. Cool. These are 2 new tests, and we're going to run them. See how we do. Moment of truth. The moment of truth. Dan says, I've gone around and around with Brian on it. He loves it because he uses it on WPF. I just look at that and say, ask why. There's so much wiring up code you have to do in order to make it usable. Yeah, iPage lifecycle aware just works. Yeah, it's I'm shocked that I didn't know that was there and available. Good, learned. Done. Now I won't make that same mistake again. It's good stuff. Okay, so we're running our tests slowly. Oh, one done. Where's our result? Cool. We got one green test. You should be watching the simulator. It's kind of fun to watch the simulator just do stuff. Okay, but we're not fully done. We've managed to navigate to the proper detail page. I'm shocked it took a year for people to start tweeting and realizing that I auto-initialize is actually based on I abracadabra. I don't even know what I abracadabra is. I'm gonna need some context there, or a Git link, GitHub link, Dan. I'm a little lost on that one. Okay, sorry. Go look at the I auto initialize interface on GitHub. Let's do that. Okay, so GitHub, Prism. Sure. Oh, really? Why? Here it is. I abracadabra. Yeah, okay. I read you. Good to know. I don't know why that's good to know. Is this used anywhere in code now? Oh wow, it's all over the place. Nice, love it. All right, well that's something we learned. Abracadabra. Nice, love it. Okay, so we have two working tests, but they don't really test what we want to because we want to, what do we want to do here? So let's go look at our page again. We want to have another query, and this really should be a, I like these to be up at the top. As members, I know like I'm not super experienced with this, but it's supposed to be, it's about to be. So what is iAbracadabra? What does it do? It clearly is for pattern matching between to make sure that anything that's auto initialized is actually identified as iAbracadabra. I like it because it is kind of magical. It's about to be obsolete with Prism.Magician. Nice. So Magician is with some of that code gen stuff you were working with Jerome on, I assume, Dan? Which I still haven't watched that whole piece. There, I'll simplify this a little bit too. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want a method here. So one of the nice things that you can do with these, with Pop Model, is you return an instance of this. Let's just call this my method for now, because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. And return this, so you can chain them, which is cool. So I think we want this to verify, let's name this verify item ID. Cool. Let's do that. So we want to have a, whoops, yeah, here we go. Oh. So we want an item ID query, item ID label query. And then what do we call that? Dan says Magician is going to do a bunch of code gen plus some IL weaving. It'll let you compose your apps more intelligently, like it will actually obsolete a lot of the need for Prism container extensions project, particularly for Shiny. Instead of doing runtime reflection, we're doing build time code generation and a little IL weaving where necessary. That's really cool. It'll make it much faster. Anytime you can avoid reflection on a mobile device is a good thing. Okay. Where were we here? Okay, so we want to look at what we call that automation ID of our item ID label. So that's in here, item ID. It's called item ID. Oh, clever. Very clever. Maybe we should actually call that item ID label. So let's update that. Dan says, like auto register for navigation will come from Prism Magician. For that, we'll register services and or views with code gen, but then call the generated code with IL weaving. That's awesome. I love it. Those code generation shortcuts to get rid of boilerplate and reflection it's always fantastic. Okay, so we've got our query, item ID label query. It's a bit of a mouthful. It's fine. So now we're going to use that. So we're going to go app. So this should have, yeah, an app dot marked. App dot, what do I want to do here? Invoke query, just query. That's what I want to do. App.query, pass my query, item ID label query. Whoops. Item ID label query. Good. And that's going to return my query results. There's a better way to do this. John says, I actually stopped chaining methods in my current app. I found it super annoying when troubleshooting issues have to break up a bunch of chain methods in the middle to insert a call to the REPL. Maybe I'll regret it someday, but so far I prefer it. Interesting. Yeah, method chaining's like one of those things, right? It's one of those things. It can make your code look a little more straightforward, but yeah, that's like one of the things I'm not a huge fan of with some of the React syntax too. If something starts going wrong, you're like, well, where in my long chain of methods? Okay, so I don't think it's app.query. We want wait for element. It's probably all we want to do. Because if it doesn't show up, it throws an exception. So I think that's all we want. I think. Well, no, we don't. We also want to take in a int item ID here. And then we want to app dot, this is not really what we want to do at all. And we're not going to method chain here. Get item ID label value. That's what we want to do. This is going to return int. It's going to wait for that. It's going to query it. Item ID label query. Var. Do I want to do var result? I might change this. Let's see. Result. Whoops. Now this is where things get tricky because I forgot how to use this. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to return -1. I'm going to put a breakpoint on here, and I want to debug this test to see how it's actually working. Okay, item detail page. Good. So we actually want to var this into our item detail page. And then we want to get var result equals item detail page dot get item ID label value. And I don't know why I'm taking an int in there. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Get item ID label value, and then we will assert dot or equal our expected ID. So here it's item ID 2, so we know it's going to be 2. So that's our expected is 2, and our actual is result. Whoops, it's going to fail at first. This is actually going to be the exact same assert down here, so we'll just copy paste that again. Okay, so I'm going to run one of these. Build it, run one, hit that breakpoint, see what's going on. Prism Magician work for WPF, Uno, and Xamarin.Forms. Love it. I started watching that again yesterday and didn't get very far before I got interrupted again. That's how it goes some days, you know? Okay, let's debug one of these. I want to hit that breakpoint again. I want to see what's in that result. I can never remember how this comes back when you query it. And actually, I want that breakpoint on the return so I can actually see what's in result. So one of the things I have to figure out is how I can get a little better output from these tests as they're executing. So right now it just like feels like I'm just watching the IDE do nothing. Or if that's in tool output, let's see. No, that doesn't really give us anything. Pads. Oh, we can change our layout to test. Maybe that'll give us the pads we want. Oh, that's helpful. Look at that output. Good stuff. Close continuous. That's helpful. Okay, so we hit our thing, breakpoint. Have an app result. Label. Text. I want to just look at text, I assume. So result, so we can do a single on here. That's really what we want anyways. So stop. So this is because it's coming back as an array. Oh, I ran this again. Stop. Single, is it coming back as an array? Query returns. Oh, I guess I just need link included. Yep. Single, and then our result.text. Result.text. But of course we have to convert that to an integer because it's just coming back as a straight. So convert to int 32. And we're gonna have to bring in another namespace here using system, which adds it to the top. Cool. I'm just gonna add a space here to let that breathe a little bit. We're good. We should have green tests now. We have we should have 2 green tests. Let's run this again. I'm gonna build it again. Then we'll run it, and we'll have 2 green tests. And then after that, I think it's back to doing some more unit testing from UI testing. So I didn't cover all our scenarios with this. And Brian has asked me to cover a few more scenarios around within master detail pages and fun stuff like that. Better test coverage is better for my PR and better for the library overall, so why not do it? Okay, so we got a successful build. Let's run these tests. Feeling good about this. It's been so long since I wrote tests. Like, I think it's been, like a year? About? Yeah, probably about that. I think last time I worked on UI tests were about a year. And then, even then, it wasn't very in-depth. It was like just some basic stuff. Super basic. All right, we got one running. Even this isn't very good output, right? Like, I'd really ideally want to see a little more going on here. Should at least shrink this so we can watch the simulator moving around. My fan's going pretty good. It's having fun. Having fun trying to keep up. Cool, it's launching, it's navigating. It's doing the thing. We got 2 green tests. Sweet. Okay, you know what? While we're in here, let's clean this up a little bit too. Oh. Dan, I might well, I got a hot hand around testing. It's been a while. I might jump into that after this. We'll see. I think I'm going to, once I have this PR merged, I think need to do a few other non-Prism things, but I'll come back. I will come back for sure. This has been fun. Let's do a little friendly cleanup here. This is taking screenshots along the way. Let's take a look at those. Do I get those in these results? Show results pad. Test results. Successful tests. Tell me where it's put in those screenshots when I do this locally. Oh, if I have local screenshots enabled. And, but let's take a look. Let's see if they're in the test bin folder. Reveal Finder. Bin. Nah, of course not. Nothing in here. Yeah, I'm looking at that too. How do I turn those lovely screenshots on? I'd like to keep this consistent with the other tests that are in there. Okay, let's see. App Manager, yeah, right. Not for iOS. I hope this has the same method. Is it? Enable local. Cool. Good. Okay, let's run our test again then. I don't know what this is exactly trying to show me here. No idea what this is. Alright, well, let's run these again. John has no clue what that is either. Cool. Good stuff. Good times. Dan, would you like me to clean up this hard-coded app file? Either, which is not going to help the solution. Let's add some in there quickly. View A, then navigate to view B. You show up in MS App Center if you run them as part of CI, and it's been super helpful, super useful. Yeah. Yeah, I've seen it that native apps, so I wasn't even looking at Xamarin. I was using Espresso and Ui Test, so the Xcode Ui Test, which is a whole different one of those things where, like I said, over the years, I haven't had a lot of chance to actually work on this. What is this? What is it trying to show me here? Arrow. Navigating through different commands? I don't get it. What do these do? No tooltips, nothing. This zoom doesn't appear to work. What the hell is this? Okay, anyways, let's go back to Finder. Yeah, so Dan, there's not just the way they're tagged doesn't really make sense to me. Screenshot 1, which is view A, and screenshot 3, which is view B. So screenshot 1. So let's actually take a look at our test because we're running this test. Navigate to view B. So view A takes a screenshot, tap navigate to view B button. So it takes a screenshot. So I think the base page takes a screenshot when you hit a page, doesn't it? Yeah. So when you new up a page, page B, and there's this other one in here that says tap navigate to view B button, but before we actually tap it, let's kill whatever ridiculous interface that is. Kind of interested in that base page too. So assert is not empty, assert does not throw. So I know Sweeky actually has some good sample code for this, or the Mobcat team. So that base page might be able to do some cleanup with. Oh, Xamcat, right. So this is from the customer assistance team. I think that's what CAT stands for. Weathertron 9000, Newsman 9000. Okay. That sounds familiar. Dilbot 9000. Let's see if there's something in here. Let's say search for, what can we search for in here? IApp. That'll get us there really quick. So I picked the 9000 thing. So John asks, is there some significance to the 9000? There was that stupid anime thing. Power level over 9000. This thing. Let's play this right now. That's perfect.
Vegeta, what does the scouter say about his power level? It's over 9,000! What, 9,000? There's no way that can be right!
So that's basically it. Over 9,000. I'm going to bookmark that. I'm going to integrate that into some of my stream fun. I don't know if the Mobcat has the same definition of that, but I know, like Mobcat, when Xamarin was a standalone company, Mobcat used to work like it was a small company. So they all knew Miguel, and Miguel has his number thing that he likes. Okay, so I'm gonna search. Did I search for IApp on here? Or did I just click something arbitrarily? IApp in this repository. App manager, base test fixture. Let's take a look at that. Base page. Let's take a look at both of these really quick. Base page, assert on page. So yeah, this is clearly the template. Does not throw, wait for element. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to change any of this because this is already what we're looking for. So we're good there. Good. Just wanted to double check that there was nothing best practice that we were missing, and really go into the Mobcats team. And I know Zwicky is test guru. So looking at what Swiki has put together is usually a good idea. Yeah, here we go. Xamarin Automation Service. So this is already pulled from. If I would have read just a little further, I would have known that this is already coming from best practices. So good. Okay, good, good, good. Sure, let's keep this here. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I'm not like crazy about it, but like sure, I don't know. Let's run over one of. Did I run my test and actually see how it comes out with my test before I move on? I want to test this with Android too. That's the other thing. So let's just. Did I run this already? Yeah, that must have been the one that I already ran. Yeah, second item. Okay, so whatever. You know, it's one of those things where maybe there is a good reason, but I can't see it. Let's just leave it. Leave well enough alone for now. If we can always come back to this and fix it up later. All right. So we're in good shape there. We have good shape. Our tests are in good shape. Let's run them on Android. So we've got them green on iOS. Let's see how they do on Android. So I think we need to add our app project. So let's add our Android head. Okay. And it's going to run on my Moto G3, my shit phone. Cool. Let's do it up. So let's run all of them but Repple. Let's make sure that this is unlocked. See how it goes. I had to downgrade Android, Xamarin Android to 10.1 today. There's an issue with how it processes the your project file in 10.2 and up, where if you're not specifying a Android what is it, linker, ProGuard, and R8. So if you're not specifying one, and I have an app that needs to have nothing specified, otherwise it breaks because of some of the native components I'm using. So if you don't have anything specified, it defaults to R8, which I want nothing to be nothing, not nothing to be R8. So it breaks, and therefore I have to roll back, which is, I don't know, fine. I need to rebuild the heads of that project. That's something I'm gonna have to tackle next week. So that's one of the things, like, I know with Android X, I'm just watching these tests run on my device to see if they're gonna do anything. Like, again, the output is a little sparse here. I have no idea what's going on at this point in time. Can't really see it doing anything on my device. Okay, apparently it deployed. Oh, here it goes. It's launching. I don't want to bring it over. It's a micro USB connection, so I don't want to show it. I don't want to have visor running because that'll slow it down even further. So it's launched. It's on view A. Suspense is killing me. Is it going to navigate? Oh, first it's running the first test. So yeah, I can see the screenshot was taken. Closed it down, so that first test should be green. Cool, app launches, done. It's the thing with these UI tests, they are slow, man. Hey, I just saw, cool, it navigates item 2. And I think, Dan, you wanted me to test this on iPad, didn't you? So I should do that. I'm gonna run and grab my iPad so we can do some tests on iPad. I will be right back. Let's switch up our target to test it on my iPad. Now I don't do much testing on my iPad. My iPad it's interesting. Since quarantine started, I've used my iPad more than ever. I'm using it running on the treadmill. I'm using it for like house party and FaceTime. I'm using it for to watch Twitch. I'm using it to for my other common scenario, which is I like to use it for GarageBand. I've got an iRig attachment. If you've never heard of iRig, they're really cool. It's like a digital interface for a musical instrument. Okay, so I'm just getting this going here. And let's see what we can do with this. So first thing I'm going to do is we'll just debug this app straight up. John, I play guitar. I'm not very good, but I do have fun with it. So I don't know if you've ever seen an iRig. iRig HD2. It's this little unit here. You plug your instrument into it, and then you plug it into your iPad or iPhone. You can use it with GarageBand. It's very cool. Very, very useful for doing multi-track mixing, or not multi-track mixing. You can only record one track at a time, but you can actually do all kinds of cool stuff, add effects, all kinds of good stuff in GarageBand. It's very cool. iRig has their own software, or whatever this company is called. IK has their own software too, but I just use GarageBand. I've never really checked out their software in depth. So this thing's $100 and it's great. So what I do is I connect with my friends, and we'll put a drum track down. And then my one friend will record bass. He'll pass the track to me. I'll record some guitar, pass it back to it, or pass it over to another friend. He'll put guitar over. So we can actually kind of collaborate on music without physically being in the same space. It's not quite the same because you're not like real-time jamming. You can't real-time jam. The latency is too high. But you can use these kind of tools to do some. Could not be uploaded to the device. Why? Why? Oh, yes. Okay, I have to add my device to the provisioning profile. Isn't that fun? All right, well, I'm going to do that off screen here. Which cert is this using? Cert and provisioning profile. So I'm taking everything I'm doing at this point as kind of like bonus time. Options? Yeah, I guess. Automatic. Okay. Well, I'm actually not going to proceed with this. I think I'm happy with this for now, and I want to move on to unit tests. I will do some UI testing with iPad, but I don't want to go through the setup work right now. I just don't feel like mucking around with provisioning profiles at this point. I don't even want to deal with auto provisioning or any of that. I just want to get a few more tests written. So I think what I'm going to do at this point, we're at a pretty good state. Take a quick look here. Go to my projects folder, DB Prism. And let's see where we're at. How many files do we have checked out or changed? A lot. Wow, okay. Okay, so I kind of despise working with large change sets in the terminal. Actually, I like Rider for that. So I'm going to fire up Rider and whoa. John, you say horrible guitarist, so-so drummer. That's awesome. I need a drummer to play with, really. Or a good bassist. It's funny, my friend who plays bass has terrible rhythm. Well, not terrible, it's just not, it's not tight. So we always have to have a drum track that we're working from. Otherwise we're not in time at all. I would say I've got better timing than him, but you know, none of it's easy. Okay, so this is immediately complaining, which I love. But I don't care either. I'm just using this because I'm very comfortable with source control in Rider at this point. I think it does a pretty good job on it. And I want to clean up all the items I have. And really try and make it a little more succinct here. Okay, so we've got a couple different things we're doing here, right? So the first thing we did, I should have committed this at the end of, or at the beginning of the session here. Hello world pages, I think we got rid of these. These aren't actually part of the project at this point. Item detail page. Let's see. I just want to see where this is in Explorer here. Pain in the butt. Maybe I'll find her. No, Explorer. Okay, so this is actually where we want it. I think this is in our... It's in our module, right? Right? I don't know. Is it? Tests, hello world tests, pages, item detail page. No, this is not. Oh, this is our UI test. Okay, so we want that. We don't want it yet. I'm trying to do this as kind of two pieces. So I'm going to do two commits here. I'm going to do a commit where I change the UI and a commit where I did the tests. So let's see. Let's start identifying UI changes. UI change, I guess, is our data store. Model interfaces. So we should have 2 of those. Yep. And page, code behind, view model, view model. We've got our, so module A I'm not going to commit because this is Xamarin.Forms. We just changed our reference to Xamarin.Forms. So I'm actually going to roll that back. We have our module. Our module we do need to change. We have our master detail. Why did that get changed? Oh, we got rid of XAML C. Oh no, this is gonna break. Oh no, because I'm using Xamarin.Forms 4 convention for this, because we've got a binding to an event that uses the relative source, and this is only available in Xamarin.Forms 4 and up. We're also using a refresh view, which is Xamarin.Forms 4 and up. But here's the thing. Okay, so we gotta go back to the drawing board a little bit here. There are 2 quick and easy workarounds for this. First of all, I don't need a refresh view in here. I don't care about it. So let's get this going. Oh boy, the fun we have. So there's another PR coming down with the Xamarin.Forms updates. That is not my work stream, so I'm just trying to make sure I don't step on toes. I don't need the latest and greatest Xamarin.Forms in this project. It's a nice to have, not a must have. So let's go in here. Oops, I actually want to look at my module. There's too much open. Let's close all files. And it's in module A. And here is my view that is broken. Yeah, Dan, I will grab it. I will rebase again soon. Probably, I'll do that outside of the stream. There's a couple things I'm going to do after hours. Okay, goodbye refresh view. Don't need it. We don't need you. We don't care. We'll keep the collection view. Is that going to work? Maybe. I think that was available in 3.5. I think. Oh boy, that's fun. Got a name here. Browse items page. I think that's all we really need. So, finding source. That's. I think that's the syntax. I'm gonna have to cross-reference. Give me a sec here. Cool. Dan, you're gonna merge that other PR this afternoon. That is great. That will help me. Because I'll rebase from that. So I'll watch and make sure it's that's merged before I rebase. This might send my computer into a bit of a tailspin here. I'm opening yet another browser. Let's see, so I just want to I'm just grabbing some code off screen here. Bear with me. I will just be a moment. So I just want that code so I can bind to I can use the binding context of the parent or of the actual content page without using the relative binding context or whatever it's called. Let's see here. This one. Yep. Okay, got it. So it's path binding context dot. And it's X reference. So we're referencing our browse items page, which was defined here by the name, and we're actually binding to binding context and then the command. So the binding context of our page instead of our item that we're actually looking at here with the collection view. Okay. So I think that gets us to the point where we have a workable solution. Let's see if this actually builds again. I am out of coffee and filled with despair. Okay, builds. Let's see if it runs. Try it on the sim because clearly it's not going to work with my beer time, John says. Oh man. Yeah, I'm tempted. You know, if it was sunny outside, it's not as gloomy. The day started really, really hopeful looking. It was really sunny and bright. Woke me up earlier than I would have liked this morning. But it's gloom and overcast, and it probably looks like it's going to rain. So, rain check on beer. Actual rain check. Here we go. So I changed the Xamarin.Forms version, and Visual Studio is very angry with me. So I'm going to clean, delete our output folders. Then I'm going to quit Visual Studio. Now I think I changed the Xamarin.Forms references in package references in another place. Yeah, in Hello World CS Proj. So I'm going to roll that back as well. Yeah, and the heads. Good stuff. So we'll roll all these back. Weird. This is a weird path kind of thing. Might want to change that somewhere down the line. What changed in the solution? Oh, we added a project into the solution. Okay. Okay, we're almost there. So I'm gonna open up Visual Studio again. Hopefully it will not have a fit at me. And it won't complain again about XAML-C. And we'll just have good fun times. Let's see. 2103, Dan coming up. So, Prism. (2103). Added a begin invoke on main thread async to iDevice service. Interesting. I've been doing this. I always have an extended device service that does this. He's added some bits about device flags, flow direction, set flags, set flow direction, and get name size. Where's the meat of this? In his actual commits, in the files changed. Okay. Flow direction. Flow direction and flags. Yeah, I don't see a problem with those, really. They're pretty much, that pretty much is, those are device specific pieces, right? That you'd want to mock. So yeah, that makes sense. I'd say yeah, like these are the things, like if I was building this is the stuff I'd put in my extended device service, because that's what I tend to do, is I tack on some things like this. Get named size. Huh. Like it makes sense, right? It's actually calling the Xamarin.Forms device service. I mean, maybe it's not the right place for it to be in the Xamarin.Forms device class. Like, yeah, it's view-centric, but like, look where it's coming from. So it kind of makes sense that he'd want to put it in device service, right? Like, I totally get it, but you're, on the other hand, you're saying this should be a separate service that deals with these more UI specific, yeah, more view-centric pieces. Like flags should definitely be in here. That's where that belongs. And flow direction, because it is global, right? You can't set it on a page by page. Yeah. Yeah, the name size, like, it's, yeah, I don't see why you'd need that either. Like I understand the desire to want to wrap your device calls, but I don't think this is the right spot for like yeah, I don't know, man. Like in the real world, I would never use this. Yeah, you wouldn't. You don't need it in your view model. You'd use it in your view. So it would never need to be part of this service. Now that I'm thinking of, Dan. So say this name size. No, this is target element. This is too specific. Because this, right? You're immediately taking a dependency on element. Yeah, my scenario I was thinking through was, you know, say you've got something in, you know, super giant font mode, like an app for seniors or something like that, or somebody who's visually impaired. Maybe you've got a different UI flow. I don't know, and your view model does different navigation flow. That's my initial thought, but still, this is too low level for that. And really, you could do that by having your view send something back to your view model. That's essentially what you want to do. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't think name size doesn't belong in there. I think flow and flags definitely belong in there. I think these two are great. I think name size is no bueno. Or as Alan would spell it, no beuno. All right. Those are my thoughts. Okay, I want to look at my... Dan, have you noticed that Alan always spells bueno wrong? Beuno? We mock him for that. San Diego, I say, toss me a cerveza y más tequila. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we want our solution to be in there because that brings in that new project dependency, so that's cool. We want our app XAML. I gotta revert that line. Nope, we don't want any changes from there. That's just XAML C again. Roll back. Okay, I mean, that's great that you're showing people the tooltip, but or the keyboard shortcut. Okay, data store, item detail page. This is our page object model, page object pattern. List view model, definitely want that. Master detail page, I think, what did I do? This is XAML C, so it's a console write line. Why did I put that in there? Oh, because this is just some of that navigation stuff that I thought. Okay, yeah, we'll keep that in there. This we will get rid of. Roll back. Tab page, I got rid of this, replaced it with our item list page. Good. Page navigation service. What's going on in here? Oh, this is my await. Okay, so Dan, since you're here, right before I broke off and went independent, this is Dan. Right before I broke off and went independent, I spent 3 months working in Guatemala. That's awesome. Full immersion, and today I can ask for the bathroom, booze, and bacon. I have no clue what anyone is saying when they respond to the first, unless they point. Yeah, that's yeah. Spanish seems fast. It does seem easier than French to me, for whatever reason. As somebody who grew up, you know, being Canadian and being taught French from a relatively young age, I'm not great with comprehending French. I can spit out some phrases of really terrible French, but comprehending is not good. Spanish for me seems it seems fast, but it seems just easier to pick out words. There's not as much like flourish on the language, I guess, than that French has. Anyways, okay, Dan, I need your eyes. Page navigation service, and I don't know what line this is going to be if you look anywhere else. 866, push async, not being awaited. Which method is this in? Holy crap, loop within a loop. Love it. Configure tab page. There is an unawaited push async. I am curious as to what the hell is going on there. So I'm going to commit it. I can always revert it. But anyways, if you want to take a look at it now, tell me if that's good and I can remove my comment or whatever. Okay, we're going to roll this one back because that's just commenting out the XAML compilation attribute. Tab view model base. What was I doing with this? Oh, right, that was that stupid page navigation aware thing. I was duplicating the code for. This is my test. This is view A, page object, view A. So we know we changed that, and we changed the view model to make it a little easier to manage that stuff. Change the view model base. Did we? Oh yeah, we brought it in because it didn't exist. Okay. Cool. So this is our added item list and item detail pages plus dependencies to module A. Module A. Okay, so this looks good, I think. I'm just gonna take one last look. Yeah, this is what we want. This is everything but our tests. So good, push that. I think I'm on the right branch. Yes, I am. Good stuff. Cool. Now our test works. So app manager, item detail page, test, view A, and our UI test itself. Cool. I think that's all right to go in there like that. Yeah, whatever. It's going in. Okay, so this is UI tests for selected tab, navigation enhancement, item list, let's just say tab navigation enhancement, and I'll say selected tab equals item list. This is like such a ridiculously tiny window. I'm putting this in our text box. Item list, item list page, item detail page, ID equals 2. Dan, can someone please explain to me how we've regressed so far that President Bush is trending on Twitter? What freaking year are we in? I thought we were finally done with the Bushes. It's crazy times, Dan. Up is down, left is right. Okay, I am happy with this. I'm going to commit and push. And you know what? I think that's our time for today. I think I need to help my wife, cats, dogs living to reorganize my organs. I'm just kidding. My wife is very awesome and has been working hard all morning, and I actually feel bad for not helping. So that's on me. Thanks for joining, everybody. It was fun, productive. Got some good stuff done. Wrote some UI tests. I guess I should wrap up with some notes here. What do we got? So, learned about Abracadabra. Wrote 2 UI tests. Woo! So that's good. I think that's about it. That's really what we got. I'm happy with that. All right. Well, that's that. We did it. All right, well, I'll be back on Tuesday night for me, so it's 7 p.m. Eastern time. So hope to see some of you again. I think this is pretty much ready. I'm going to write a couple more unit tests and then we'll PR this next time. So I think we're definitely on the last stretch of this. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you Tuesday. I think I lied a little bit. I think I'm going to try and raid somebody here. Raid. Dev chatter. I always forget about the raid at the end of a stream. Let's see if we can do that. Is that right? I don't even know how to raid properly. Twitch. Slash raid. You know, noobs. One viewer ready. All right. Bye, everybody.